Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Cush, and tonight I'm talking about Be Your Own BFF, loving yourself and others, pimples and all. I'm a therapist, blogger, and podcaster here in Annapolis, and tonight I'm talking about self-compassion and why it's so important. I am an introvert and have struggled with anxiety for most of my life, so you can imagine how presenting here tonight has made me feel. So when I started my business years ago, my anxiety kicked into overdrive and my inner critical demons made me crazy with self-doubt. What might you say to someone who is struggling with the same thing? Here's what I was saying to myself. Who do you think you are? You don't know anything about business or marketing. You're probably going to fail. Pretty harsh, right? Fortunately, I had friends and colleagues who introduced me to the concept of self-compassion. I bought books, I listened to CDs, I watched videos, and I practiced. And you know what? It helped to reduce my anxiety and stress. But not only that, it made me more compassionate towards others who were struggling. I began to see how my clients' self-doubts, self-judgments, and harsh inner critical thoughts were feeding their anxious and depressed feelings. So now, I advocate for more self-compassion and less self-criticism, because it can change our relationship with ourself and with others. So what is self-compassion? It's not self-esteem, which relies on competition and one-upmanship, creating feelings of disconnection from family, friends, coworkers, and teammates. Instead, self-compassion allows that we all have strengths, and your strengths don't diminish mine. For me to feel good about me, I don't have to feel badly about you. And self-compassion isn't about closing our eyes to our mistakes, our struggles, our frustrations. Instead, self-compassion recognizes that we're all imperfect. So even when we struggle with eating too much or drinking too much or yelling at our kids, we can recognize with compassion that we can do things differently. And it's not about self-pity, which leaves us feeling alone when we're struggling, making us feel isolated. Instead, self-compassion recognizes that we all struggle. And when we recognize and when we can realize that we're not alone in our suffering, it makes us feel less isolated. So why is it so hard? Because we often use criticism for motivation, but criticism activates our fight-flight response, which makes us even more distressed. But with self-compassion, we can learn to soothe our nervous system, allowing us to think more, wrong one. But our brains can't tell the difference between yelling at ourselves and being in actual danger. With self-compassion, we can learn to soothe our nervous system, making it easier to think clearly, problem solve more effectively, and focus our attention on what's next. So let's practice being our own BFFs. Let's embrace our common humanity and imperfections. For a moment, close your eyes. Place your hands on your heart and think of something that you've struggled with. Now say to yourself, that was a moment of suffering. Everyone struggles from time to time. May I be kind and accept myself as I am. I've healed, and I've seen my clients heal through the practice of self-compassion. I know that we can create stronger bonds with ourselves and others if we open our hearts.